Mr. Weatherly.
Yes, I'd like to focus on some costs and savings, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
How can you deliver the savings you need to meet the spending review settlement and afford this new approach with the large-scale structural changes required?
Well, I think I would pray and aid the contracting out of community payback in London, which saved 40%. And the fact that, as you say, I think we have a system where there's too much bureaucracy, where there's too much paraphernalia. What I want is a system that is geared towards what it's there for, which is supporting, mentoring, helping offenders to make sure they don't reoffend, and I want the money spent on that, not on other things. I'm very confident from what I've seen so far that it is possible to create a system that's more efficient and can bring in the under 12 months group and at the same time enable us to meet spending review targets. And this is a classic case of more for less.
I mean, that's good ideals, but have you identified any specific upfront costs required to do this, and are there any additional ongoing costs required to do this?
There are some initial investment costs which we will face in terms of just building the new structures. But of course, if you're building a payment by results system, you're also reducing your bills in the first few months because the providers that come in and work with you carry some of the initial costs of delivering the service as their exposure to what you're doing. So we think financially that this is an affordable package. We're very confident, based on practical experience contracting out, that we can deliver significant savings and at the same time enhance what we do.
But those are great ideals, but are there any specific costs identified already? In terms of numbers, because you've got a specific number on the spending review, so I wonder if there's any specific numbers on some.
Well, an example, there will be some additional IT costs. There will be some reorganisational costs. We've done some initial work on outline figures at this stage, but we're not talking about hundreds of millions of pounds to get this up and running. There is a cost of a few £1 million to get the new systems up and running. But I'm very confident in terms of the overall package that we can generate significant savings, a more efficient system. This is fundamentally all about, yes, I've got to meet spending review targets, yes, I've got to bring budgets down by a few percentage points, but I'm also very confident that I've got a system that has got the scope to operate more efficiently in order to pay for the under 12-month people. Now, that to me is the big win.
Clearly, if this works, then it will save money. Is there any timetable that you've identified so far to say when that will kick in? Is there any sort of payback period, if you like?
Well, the aim is to get all of this up and running for 2015. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, as soon as possible, but it's got to be practical. We've got to do some reorganisation works within the existing system. We've then got to bring in new partners, and I think it's got to be. We got the work programme up and running from the day I walked into the Department for Work and Pensions to the day the first person worked into work programme office was, I think, 1 year and 18 days. This is going to take longer because we've got work to do to carefully evolve rather than just, this is not a kind of what's there one day is gone, what's there another day is something new. This has got to be a process of evolution. It's got to be quite carefully managed because fundamentally we've got a core responsibility of the supervision of offenders and the delivery of a part of the order of courts, which can't have a hiatus. So this is going to be a process of evolution over a couple of year period, rather than simply a kind of old world one day, new world the next.
There are some other areas, apart from probation itself, in which you're expecting to make savings. For example, competing non-custodial services within prisons, benchmarking, review of costs.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got any timetable for when you expect to achieve savings by these? And are these going to feed into the Transforming Justice programme by enabling other things to be done, or are they the means by which you're going to meet your budget requirements?
I mean, they're really the means, or one of the means by which we meet budget requirements. I mean, I've effectively set 5 priority areas for the department in relation to the spending review and change. One part is what we've been talking about this morning, the rehabilitation revolution, which delivers small savings, but also, I hope, paves the way for more significant savings in the second half of the decade by taking pressure off the system by reducing reoffending. We are looking at the youth estate, where we're spending £245 million a year detaining 1,600 young people, and you will have seen the consultation we put out recently to say, okay, how can we do this better, more cost effectively? We're looking at legal aid and intend to publish consultation on legal aid matters shortly. We're looking at whether we can improve the efficiency of the courts, and particularly the interaction between the courts, police, Crown Prosecution Service. So we've got a range of work going on meeting our financial targets. And on the prisons front, the decision we took last year, the department had started a process of privatising entire prisons. I have intentionally refocused what we're doing, so effectively we're changing things on a horizontal basis rather than a vertical basis. My goal is to have a prison system that is cheaper rather than smaller, unless and until we deliver much better reoffending outcomes and the pressures on the system ease, in which case we can shrink it. But I don't ever want us to be in a position where the courts can't send someone they want to prison because there's no place available for them. So we have to reduce the cost of our prison system to meet prison targets rather than close lots of prisons. And I looked at the process that I'd inherited, and some good work had been done, but my judgment was that if we went for the public sector benchmarking approach that you'll be aware that we've taken, we would actually be able to deliver savings more rapidly across the whole prison estate. And the work to do that is already underway. You'll see savings in the 2013-2014 tax years. You'll see further savings in 14-15 as we drive change across the prison system. And that work is happening now. The savings are literally starting now.